question. It said that we had to ask for permission to record this.
Yep, I just started recording. Yep.
Okay, got it. All right.
Okay, perfect. So can I share my screen with you, or what, this PowerPoint?
Is it letting you share, Dre?
Yeah, he's the co-host now. He should be able to.
Okay. All right. I hadn't done this in a while, so
It's got to, hey, listen, it's got to be appropriate, DeAndre, if you're going to share your screen.
All right, somebody walk me through here.
Go down to the bottom. There's a little share screen.
Oh, okay, I see it.
When you click on that, it'll let you select the program that you want to share. Your
Okay.
PowerPoint.
Perfect. All right. Y'all, let me see here.
Yeah, it's working.
There we go. Can you guys? All right. Okay, I can see. All right. So I know a few folks in here on this call, but my name is DeAndre Jackson. I want to say I'm leading this discussion. I looked at where some of you all are and which organization, and went to some websites and looked at some of the assessments. And there are some areas that I know I'm strong in when it comes to fundraising, but there are some areas that I'm very weak in. Okay. And so, you know, I'll probably emphasize more the areas that I'm strong in as we talk. But if you see an area that you're strong in, you're welcome to chime in and give input. You know, that's one of the things that I like about this group, and why I think this is important. You know, I feel like, and I know that we all competed per se to receive this funding, but I can tell you that I know what it's like to kind of be on an island trying to figure it out on your own. And you know, funding is one of those things where you know, it literally will make or break your organization. Okay. And that's tough. So be prepared to just take your, if you don't have any background noise, you know, take your Zoom off of mute and please comment. This is a discussion. If we were all in the same conference room, we'd be sitting around the table, and I'm just leading this discussion on fundraising. So first, you know, my fundraising story, my fundraising background. Let me see here. I want to change this so I can see everybody. There we go. That's better. All right. I want to see faces. I can only see one face, and that was Chase. Not that I don't like your face, Chase. I envy your beard, Chase. I do. So anyway, my fundraising story. I became a nonprofit leader in 2005. Okay, very new nonprofit. Which was the first tee to Weak Horse at Williams Creek. I was their first executive director. Funny story, which is true. When I interviewed for the job, I interviewed for program coordinator. I didn't know that I was the executive director until a week after I took the job. So I interviewed for the program coordinator, and I was happy to get that job. And I go into a meeting, and mind you, even as a program coordinator at the time, I kind of didn't know what I was doing, right? And so I go into this meeting, and I'm sitting with my board, in this room, in a boardroom, okay, at a big construction company in town, in their big boardroom. And they start talking about payroll, which payroll doesn't concern the program coordinator, right? And so they asked me, they said, DeAndre, how do you want to handle the payroll? And I'm like, how are we handling it now? You know? And they said, everybody gets paid every week. I was like, well, let's keep it like that. And so, so later on, just by probing and asking questions, I was the executive director. I'm like, what does an executive director do? So anyway, that's how my story began. I mean, it literally was trial by fire. And I remember my first ask ever was to Lawrence Tullett. And one of my board chair, he said, Cornerstone Foundation, they're going to give us X number of dollars to help to pay for your salary, to help pay for your salary. Write a letter to them and ask for the money. And I just remember that being like the hardest letter I've ever had to write in my life, to ask somebody for, you know, I think it was like $30,000. I'm like, how do I ask somebody? And you know, this is pre, you can Google anything, you know. You had to figure this one out. And so that was the beginning of my fundraising journey. And just kind of a little bit there. It was probably about $1.5 million organization. It was an income-based model. We ran a golf course in addition to an after-school program, and then it was the first tee that was spread across 5 or 6 counties. And so there was about close to about $500,000 we had to fundraise. Early on, I started in 2005, and then like the bottom fell out of the economy in like 2007 or 2008. I can't even remember the exact year. Everything was just, that job was fun until then. That job was fun until you start getting, you know, those thin letters that come in the mail. Like, by show of hands, how many of you all know what a no letter feels like? They're real thin. I mean, you could almost see through them. I've never mistaken a no letter for a yes letter. I have no reason. I don't know why, but Marlena, Willie, y'all know what I'm talking about. They real thin little letters, and it starts off, thank you for all the great work you do in the community. But unfortunately, right? So anyway, during that time frame, I knew something was brewing. I knew something was coming, because I got a lot of no letters. And then there was funding that the first couple of years that I was there, we got no problem. A lot of that was either cut or gone. It was a perfect storm in which there was a I don't know if I would call it a crisis, but something was going on in city and county government where they just said, hey, we're not funding youth service organizations anymore. I don't know if anybody was around or remember when the city just stopped funding youth serving organizations. We got money just totally cut from the county. So I'm telling you guys, in a matter of a month, 3 months, I think I lost $175,000 in funding. I mean, it was just crazy. I remember, it's coming back to me now. I remember I had an intern that we were going to get a Knox Fellow working there at Williams Creek. And I think we had to come up with the $10,000. One of the hardest calls I had to make was to Rick Coleman saying, Rick, I don't know where it's going to come from, right? And so that was a learning curve for me to, figure out how to continue to fund the organization. Also, I mentioned how much we had way too much in government funding. I mean, I think 50% of our funding at that time was government funding. So we weren't very diverse, okay? And so And so that was my wake up moment, you know, is this something that I really can stomach? This is something I really can do. And so we weathered that storm, of course, and bounced back, and, you know, program grew and all of that kind of good stuff. But in 2017, summer 2017, I kind of stepped out, I did, started a nonprofit, Penultimate Development. It's a 10-month leadership development organization serving underserved young men between the ages of 18 and 24. I learned while working at Williams Creek, there was a gap. There was a gap of young folks that weren't being served. I saw successes for the young people that came through that organization that were going off to college, going off to trade school and getting really good jobs. But I saw that the underserved kids in our community were not taking advantage of the opportunities that we have to offer. And so, you know, mentoring kids, loving on kids, young men is something that I've always have done since I've been an adult, or out of college. And it was just a natural transition for me to start Penultimate Development. And now, just to be a little transparent of where I am today, and that's a question that I'm going to ask each one of you here in a few minutes. You know, where I am today is I'm still in the startup phase, especially since, you know, we've had this pandemic. The pandemic has kind of slowed down just the growth that I would like to have saw in the program. And so I'm still in the startup phase all across the board when it just comes to programming, when it comes to staffing. I have another staff person. When it comes to, you know, board, when it comes to, you know, to operations, and when it comes to fundraising. Okay. And so I am still working on building sustainability. Okay. But I'm working with a plan. All right. And before we get into that, that's my fundraising story. That's where I'm at today. But before we get into that, I want to hear y'all's fundraising story. Okay. And like I said before, it's important. Just, you know, be honest. Be honest where you are from a fundraising perspective. And, you know, you got a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes, real quick. I guess I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I don't let everybody see that list. Is A1 Learning on? She's not. Drums up, guns down.
Oh, but I also.
I'm on. How y'all doing?
Great.
How y'all doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
So far, so good. I'm just one of my classes just ended, so I got a little time before my next one. I gotta go to Richard Oakley around 12, but Richard Yoakley, I'm sorry. But I'll be on until then. But my fundraising efforts so far, so good. One of the things that's been beneficial to me is just being at the right tables and making connections and networking. It's going to different places, networking, talking to different people. And being that I've been doing what I've been doing for the last 17 years, the credibility is there. And I've just been having a lot of good support from a lot of key people to kind of help me get my proposals and stuff like that together. And then once they kind of see the program that I'm running, it's been kind of a shoe in on on the fundraising efforts so far. I hadn't had a specific fundraising event. So far, most of my funds have been coming from writing proposals and grants. Yeah, so that's kind of what I got.
Ooh. So let me ask you this: what is one takeaway you like to get out of this?
I think one of the takeaways I like to get out of it is like kind of thinking about fundraiser events per se, and what do you do outside of raising funds, outside of just grants. one of the things that I've learned so far to get funds outside of grants is just, you know, being at the right places and talking to the right people. That's what I learned so far. And so I hadn't like got into doing a specific fundraising events, but I'm definitely used to doing events already. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Is Denise on? Is Iota Alpha Foundation? All right, Karate 5.
How you doing that? Hey, we have, Marlena will talk a little bit. Most of ours has come from lately from the grants. And the at the end, when we had the fundraising for United
Way, Big Give.
the Big Give.
Yeah.
And since we are being new as far as the fundraising, because over the 50 years, it's been almost 47 years out here doing this, we've always done it out of our pockets and just doing it. And we found now that the organization has grown and we need a lot of help in different areas, and especially how to keep some of our people salary because they don't get paid. And it's mostly like they steal out of their pockets because that the most of what we do is put back into the school, into the community, into the kids. So that's been one of our biggest things too. How can we help get some of our people, instructors and stuff, compensated? So our fundraising is that's a big interest to us right there. How can we cut the grant? Sometimes only give you for small amounts, only give you a certain amount for offers or personal use or things of that sort. So we need to know how we can get better compensated for our employees.
The majority of the manpower that goes into our programs comes from volunteers. And as Willie has stated, the organization is 48 years old. And it's been worked for 48 years with no salaries. And as we grow and try to meet the obligations of our grantors, we don't have salaried positions and we don't have the manpower. So I'm sure DeAndre understands the bulk of the responsibility falls on just a few hands to get everything done. So we're kind of looking for answers. How do we get people to commit 20, 30 hours a week to an organization without a salary and expect them to be invested? How do you get that to work? How do you get that to grow? How do you resolve those kind of issues?
That money.
Without money, right?
Okay, good. Who's next? Keenan Grimes Community Outreach Center, they on? Can Clarence, can you talk? Yeah, there he is. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
yeah, we hear you.
Okay. Yeah, kind of like you were at the beginning, Dre, when you first started out, man. This is I think it's my second year being 501c3 certified, and it has been a struggle just bringing in funds. But fortunately, I've had some good friends along the way that played basketball with me back in the day that was, that did some really, really nice things for my program to kind of get me jump started. But in regards to fundraising, it's just tough, man. It's tough. It's tough trying to put things together when you don't really have all the pieces in place. And so I've just been fortunate enough to get a couple of grants that has, you know, pretty much helped do what I do. And most of my funds are surrounded around college tours for our kids, and so that cost is not a lot. Along with, you know, like shirts and T-shirts and a couple of big events that we have during the year. But I have been frustrated a little bit with just grant opportunities. You know, just, you know, you put in all this work to submit grants, and then you know, I get that same letter like you used to get, Dre. You know, unfortunately,
I still get it.
yeah, unfortunately, you know, I guess I didn't say the right thing or didn't have the proper paperwork to, you know, to get it done. You know, and the funny thing about that is that when you apply for these grants, you answer the questions based on what your program is about, and I think it's just, you know, I don't know. I wish I had somebody who could sit down before you submit it and say, hey, I just want to make sure that I answer everything that I'm supposed to answer, how I'm supposed to answer it, so that I can be selected to receive some of these funds, because it's these funds that continue to drive what we do. And I've seen a lot of good programs that come in, you know, come in, and then before you know it, they're gone because of funds. And I don't want Real Talk to be that way. So I want to just continue to, you know, bounce different ideas off, you know, how do we continue to raise money? How do we continue to put the right people into place to get us the funds that we need to sustain our program? And so that's an everyday conversation, Dre, that we have with small businesses and with nonprofits, that, you know, I think we're all going through that. So I wish somebody could give me some answers, but I'm just going to continue to beg my friends, continue to get out here and hustle, you know, with small businesses that want to do the same things that we want to do. And we all just try to put our heads together to try to figure it out, man. It's tough.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. The bottom.
Peace, everyone. This is Pumpkin from the bottom. I share a lot of feelings that everyone else has already shared, along with frustration with, you know, hearing even on this call a bunch of Black organizations talking about not receiving funding, having to spend a lot of their labor towards funding, and being in this like arena of scarcity when there's an abundance for a lot of white-led orgs, you know. So I'm holding a lot of like frustration from that, hearing just us communicate that. We also volunteer grant writing and fundraising for other orgs. And there's currently like, you know, this is a few orgs that are like reached out to us. And it's like, how can we support them? So it's just, I'm definitely holding right now this feeling of frustration of Black organizations, you know, begging and scrapping for funds using their own resources. We've had to do the same the first year of our existence. Our director and Keshi used a lot of her own funds. I've used my own funds, and you know, that was like a major sacrifice to make. So, and we're still not really paying ourselves well. We're still using a lot of our own funds for things because we just want to make this work, and we want our space to be for ourselves and for our people. But yeah, I share a lot of feelings that people have already shared as well, along with that.
Okay, yeah, that's good. I'm gonna say something, but I'm gonna let y'all finish before. Go ahead. Youth outreach, science, technology, engineering, and math. Your STEM. All right. So until Candace interrupts me, I just want to say something because obviously I know where I know where everyone is coming from. When I became executive director in 05, I think I was 28 years old. I think I was 28, 29 years old. Okay. And it was really, really hard. And I'll be honest, I wish I could say that the landscape has changed where I see other people who, you know, who have my same pigmentation, young men, or just men in general in that sphere, and I just don't. It's just not there. And if I told y'all I wasn't frustrated, then you know, then I'll be lying. And that's why I appreciate the Healing Fund providing funding for organizations like ours, but then also making it, you know, that we get together and have these conversations. This is the first time I've had these conversations with a group of Black-led organizations in my career. Okay, and so I you know, obviously I understand y'all's pains, and to Pumpkin's point, there is abundance of resources out there. There's abundance of dollars out there. There's some folks here in our community that they couldn't give away 25% of their net worth or their assets, even if they tried. I mean, so, but we got to keep pioneering. You know, I'm a historian. I'm a Black history historian. So, you know, I'm often reminded of kind of how we got to where we are in pioneering. My family is from, you know, the Deep South. My family's from Tuskegee, Alabama. So, so at any rate, I think it's important for us to realize where we are in our cycle of our nonprofits. This is something that makes me feel, when I look at this, it just makes me feel comfortable about where my organization is, right? And also where I'm trying to go, okay? And so, you know, I am in the startup phase. That's where I am at. If I lied to myself, I may be able to grab some things within the maturity stage, but that's not the case. You know, my organization right now, we have limited to financial resources, and we are like, you know, I may have 2 or 3 or 4 months of operating cash in the bank, and I'm feeling really, really good when that's the case. But, and so, you know, everything down there is kind of where I am. And that's just, you know, you are where you are, okay? And as a leader of your organization, you know, your job is to move on to that next phase, to that growth phase, okay? So as you look at this, does anybody feel, I think by a nod of heads or thumbs up or whatever you can do, I from hearing you all's words, I think we're all pretty much kind of in that startup phase, right? I think some of the folks that aren't here today, I think they probably may have some in the growth phase and maybe in the maturity phase. Now I love to hear from them and get some feedback from them. But I think for the folks here that are on this call, I think we're pretty much still all on the startup phase. All right, so we talked about the problems. We talked about you know, the areas of that we need to grow in. It seems as if the majority of the folks that are on this call receive pretty much the majority of their funding through grants. Okay, and so we probably won't spend a whole lot of time talking about grants, but we are going to spend some time talking about grants. But we gotta create a fundraising plan. Okay, and you know, the foundation of me take a little sip of water. Give me a sec. The foundation of that plan is the mission. So I looked on some of y'all's websites and I looked at the mission, and some of the missions look strong, but some don't. And you got to ask yourself, does your mission clearly articulate the organization's goals, means, and people served? Right? I'm sure we all have a mission. Now, if you're receiving grants, and as far as you know, my mission goes, I feel like I have a strong mission. Okay, it's very, very simple. Okay, sorry guys, but to improve the life of underserved young men, giving them the tools they need to be leaders in the community by focusing on their spiritual, their personal, and their professional development. That's it. Everything, the who, the what, the how, is articulated in that mission. Can anyone tell me their mission? Just shoot it right off the top of their head. I know you should know it, but you know, it is what it is. Somebody want to give it a try? Come on now.
I give it a shot. Drums Up Guns Down mission is to focus on curbing gun violence and helping students heal and express themselves through the arts of our ancestors.
That's good. Anybody else? What's your mission?
We have a very strong mission, and we are so grateful to United Way because they really help to energize our program through the Community Healing Fund. Friday Five's mission is fighting to save lives through the mental, physical, and emotional disciplines training of martial arts. We teach young students, and a lot of them are males, but we teach young students from ages 12 up. Well, they come into the program at 9. But we teach them.
Wait, hold on. That ain't a part of, that's not a part that we teach young students. Say this your mission one more time.
Okay. Our mission is fighting to save lives through the mental, physical, and emotional disciplines of training of martial arts. And what we do is,
that's it. That's all I want to know. I just want to know your mission.
That's our mantra.
Okay, and that's good because I feel like your mission is the pillar of your organization. If you have board members, and even when I was at the first tee, I would go on calls and I would always start by saying what our mission was because it's probably the only thing that I could remember without thinking. But I would go on calls and if I was with a board member, man, they had screwed the mission up. I mean, you know, the mission of the organization has something to do with, to them, Tiger Woods. And I'm like, no, it don't. It don't have anything to do with Tiger Woods, right? And so that's why you want your mission to be strong. That's why you want your mission to be easily articulated and communicated, because you need people in your organization to live and breathe that mission, right? And if it's not, if the people on your board, especially if your board chair can't recite your mission, then you need to get your mission looked at. And that's okay to say like, hey, my mission is weak. That's the point of us having this call. But you know, your mission is, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but your mission is what fuels your board to raise money, and it what fuels everyone else to raise money. I mean, at the end of the day, you can always fall back on, this is our mission. This is what we're doing to impact the life of underserved young men by giving them the tools they need to be successful leaders, focusing on their spiritual, their personal, and their professional development. And I can just go in on those focuses. what I'm focusing on. That's my program. Okay, very, very simple, very concise. I like boom, boom, boom. I like concise, clear, simple, because I'm not that smart. Okay. So you all can probably figure out kind of where I'm going next. But for those of you that don't know, I'm a country boy. Okay. I love the fish, Chase. I love the fish, man. I mean, if I could sit on the pond at my grandparents' house and fish for a living, I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. And I always use the analogy of fishing to describe fundraising. All right. And so you're gonna hear me revert back to fishing all the time. Okay. And so, the great thing about fun fishing and fundraising, it's the same because anybody can go fishing, anybody can fundraise. You can go to Walmart and buy the cheapest reeling rod and get you a hook and go to a pond and you could catch some fish. All right. So, but you need one thing to catch fish. You need bait. Okay. And if the mission is the who, the what, and the how, all right, our bait, the bait is our why. Okay. And so I know this is not unfamiliar to anybody, the case for support or need statement. Every grant that I've ever written that asks for the why. Every grant probably that you all go for is what's your case for support, what's your need statement, what's your why. That's your bait. Okay. So not only do you need to have a strong mission, you need to have a strong case for support. You need to have a strong why. Okay. And so, what's covered in that is simply, what problem are you solving, right? What's the value of organization? Why is your program important to the community? Data, facts, results, if you have them, evidence-based. So, I know Real Talk has been going on for, I talked to Real Talk back in, I don't know, maybe 2016. Clarence, are you still on, Clarence? Is Clarence off now? He probably stepped away. He said he
I'm in the
would.
hallway.
Yeah. So, I talked to Real Talk, I would probably say 6 or 7 years ago. Those kids were in middle school, right? And, when you're talking about fundraising, if he had an event and if he had some kids like where they are now, right? And maybe some are in college, maybe somebody's story that they heard at Real Talk open their eyes up and change their life. You put that on Facebook of a kid telling your story, that's going to draw some attention to your organizations. That's going to raise some money, right? And so the reason why I say that is, that competitive advantage, I think we kind of lose sight of. Every organization has a competitive advantage. A competitive advantage is what separates you from, your competitors. And your competitive advantage should be communicated in your case statement, in your case of support, and in your need statement. Okay. And so I want to see here if I should have it up, but I don't, and I apologize. But I'm going to read to you all a part of my need statement. When I read my need statement, obviously, like y'all wouldn't be passionate and cared about what you do if you didn't start a nonprofit organization. So when I read my need statement, I'm ready to, I get excited. I get excited. because it just reminds me of why I do what I do. Okay, so I can't read it because the Zoom is in my way. But let me see. Let me move to the side here. Okay. So, and this is I just pulled it up from a grant I wrote this summer, right? And then I didn't get the rejection letter on this one. I got the oh, we forgot to tell you we only serve kids. I'm like, told me that before I started this grant. It wasn't on their website. I did my research. Anyway, here's my niche statement. In Knoxville, there's a high percentage of underserved African-American males that aren't not being taught the spiritual, personal, and professional building blocks needed to make a successful transition to adulthood. This is evident because of the increasingly high rate of violent crimes, fatherless homes, unemployment, low income, and graduation rate. Underserved African-American males are disconnected from networks and connections that exist in the community that lead to apprenticeship, long-term employment, and financial stability. So this was this summer. So far this year, the murder rate in Knoxville has reached an all-time high of 23 deaths, on pace to be the deadliest year on record. According to the KPD, from 2009 to 2018, African-American males 18 to 34 made up 54% of the Knoxville murders. In 2019, 46% of blacks live below the poverty rate, and the national average is 25. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and Census, the unemployment rate of the targeted audience is 2.5 times higher than the city of Knoxville's average. The median household income is 3 times lower, and 55% come from single parent homes. Penultimate Development has done extensive research involving nonprofit organizations, schools, employers, and funders who support underserved youth from low-income communities. As a result, we discovered a transition of service gap left by nonprofit organizations once services have stopped. I lost my place. Once services have stopped, once they've aged out of their program. Based on research conducted, there are no organizations that provide professional, personal, and spiritual support to this demographic, and then blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. I'm making a case. I am making a case for you to give me money, right? And so if you don't have a strong case, like if you don't have a strong case, then you're going to get that no. And you know, for me, my grants, because I write my grants, my own grants, but I've had grant writers too. I mean, not for this organization, but for others. I mean, don't get me wrong, I use a grant writer, but because I write these grants and I have to talk, I'm dead on when I articulate this because I want one message. And so that's why your case of support needs to be it needs to be strong. All right, let me get out of that. Let me get my Zoom back big like it was. All right, I think that's not how. Hold on, people. This is terrible. I'm scared to press something because it might mess everything up. All right, I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it at that. You know, I need my kids to tell me how to operate Zoom. Okay, now it's just messing everything up. All right, so if one pillar is the mission, your next pillar is your board. And you can see on the screen, you know, some of the basic responsibilities of the nonprofit board, right? Determine the organization's mission and purpose, select and support the chief, the CEO, right? I mean, that's their job, to hire and fire the chief executive officer, right? But the foremost responsibility is to ensure that there's adequate resources for the organization to fulfill its mission. The board works in partnership with development and staff to raise money. Let me see by a show of hands or a nod, do you all feel like, I need some feedback, all right? Do you all feel like your board are y'all operating this way? I will say, I will go first. The answer is no, I'm not operating right now this way. And I will talk more about why that is a problem.
This is Oba. I can comment on that a little bit better. My board, we really just had our first board meeting probably about maybe last month. But what's been instrumental to me before being that I'm kind of like in the beginning stages, I've had a steering committee first. And my steering committee just put me in front of some good people and just connect me with some good sponsors, potential sponsors. And I've been able to kind of like sit down and talk to them myself about my mission. That way, the face-to-face just does a whole nother thing because they see my passion, they hear my passion, and they're here to ask questions. And that's kind of helped me out a lot, just having a good steering committee that just got a lot of, good connections.
That's good. That's good. You starting off on the right foot. I can tell you that. Anybody else?
The Karate 5 board is very active, very involved. We support the program. We make sure that the grants are submitted. We promote the mission. Our staff, our teaching staff works really hard to assure that our programs are carried out that benefit these kids from these underserved communities. And we are a very active board. I wish we had more members on the board who could bring more resources to the board, but right now we have a very committed and very active board. Now, we don't have all the resources and tools that we would like to have as any small nonprofit has, but we really work hard to ensure these programs and that these kids benefit from our programs.
Okay, good. Anybody else? And remember now, the key here is now we're not talking about, we're talking about one of the key responsibilities of board members, and that's to make sure that y'all's organization is adequately funded. Okay, and just to be transparent with you all, that's why you have to get out of the startup mode and get into the growth mode, right? When you look at looking at this chart here, when it look at human resources, and we're gonna talk more, the startup mode is formal governance in place, group, idea not really developed, right? Then as you go into growth, you expand to more outsiders, more focused on planning and more focused on oversight, okay? And so I guess what I'm saying is that, and this will lead into the other pillar of what we're doing is fundraising is one of the primary responsibilities of a board. So think of it like this. Nonprofit structure, and especially some of us, our smaller nonprofits, what we lack is resources, assets, right? Human assets. The board is a human resource. They're assets, okay? And in business, you buy assets, you purchase assets to get a return on those investments to help your business grow. If you have board members that is not having a bottom line impact on your organization, they aren't good board members. Okay, and each board member should have a bottom line impact on your organization. All right. So here we go. This is a something that I saw that I like. Does anyone have a fundraising culture on your board? Right. Meaning that meaning this. So let's just look at this, and it's kind of 10 yes or no questions, right? If anyone can pass this, I'll take you to lunch. Or for me, I'll be the guinea pig here. Our board members talked about their fundraising responsibilities before they're elected to the board. Any yeses there? On y'all's board, Elle? Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking of where I'm board chair of. It's new though, a statewide infant mental health organization, but yeah, we can say yes to some of these, but not all of them. But yeah, we are now talking about fundraising before they commit.
So as fundraising responsibilities, personally given, including the board member, is it, you know, a lot of boards have board member contracts, expectation agreements. We had that at Williams Creek. I don't have it now. Do everyone give on your board? Yes and no. Right? Everyone gives on my board except one person. But that one person has helped me raise a lot of money. But he I don't know why he had that. But anyway, does the board chair personally solicit board members to ensure appropriate giving? Does your board have a fundraising committee?
We are the
Does the board chair raise money? Somebody say something.
I just said with the Karate 5, we are the fundraising committee. Most of these we can answer yes to, and then there's some that we can't answer to. Okay, but in most of them we can.
My question is United Way and DeAndre's organization, our organization, how do you, we're fishing from, as you talk about fishing, we're fishing from the different ponds to get board members who come with the background and the fundraising culture that you're talking about. United Way is going to be able to attract people unlike we're going to be able to attract to sit on our board because we lack the resources. So that's a wall. You know, when you ask people to sit on your board, especially if they're not getting a stipend or something, they kind of want to know how it benefits them and not just our organization, for them to invest the kind of time that's going to be required to invest in fundraising and support the mission of the board, the organization.
Oh, so you're saying that you may get people on your board that are not doing it for the right reasons.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when you start going out looking for people to sit on your board, you need qualified people who have the who have the ability to do what people like United Way, the people they have on their board. We need that kind of energy on our boards, but it's hard to recruit those kinds of people, is what I'm trying to say.
It takes time and you know, what's that called? What's the official name of board recruitment, getting the right people on the board? What's that called, Elle?
Yeah, if you want to call it board development, but there's a lot of inequities, especially smaller grassroots organizations, these large, you know, the national organizations that have franchises here. Of course, they're going to get the higher, wealthier organizations, and definitely that's a soapbox I can get on for sure. But it working to get qualified, experienced board members on your board, and then creating that cycle of them renewing and recruiting other qualified candidates, because if although you're getting a lot of great board members, they might be their first board. So you're spending more time training them on what a board member does, or when you need someone who's ready to go. So that's key to our mission. So we train board members through onboard program. We will train your board members. We have a spot on our website called the boardroom where you can post board openings, because we need to be more transparent. I do not like that many communities, including our own, just find people who are on their phone, who look like them, who talk to them, who are in their network. We already know them in their network. You need people outside your circle of influence. So I think we as a community need to be more transparent and open about calling for board members and letting people apply and vetting them, so that we can expand our circles. But yeah, there's a lot of inequities in board service, and we need to change that.
Yeah, it's once again, when we talk about recruiting board members, and why it's so critical to fundraising, and we're going to talk about this later, but remember that word competitive advantage, because that applies more than just your programming. That also applies to who would be a good fit to be on your board, right? Because I know some people that in the Jefferson County community, they got a passion for martial arts. If someone has a passion for something, then that opportunity to link is there. That interest is there, right? So and that's why it's real good to have someone like Alliance for Better Nonprofits. Can I still say that? Alliance for Better Nonprofits, United Way. I don't know. So someone that can look, on the outside looking in, saying, "Hey, I think this Chase matched me with Pete Higgs at Renovatus. Pete Higgs is this, crazy country white guy that used to do hair, but now he has convicts living on his farm underneath him and his wife. And he's like my brother from another mother, man. I mean, I love Pete Higgs. I give him a good hug when I see him, Chase. And so, but I'm just saying there, Chase saw, he's like, man, y'all got to connect. So it's always good to have people outside your organization kind of peeking in and saying, okay, wait, they might see something that you don't see. Because I think each one of our organizations, we have that spark, that specialness that allows us to be good, but we want to be great, right? So anyway, we got to build that. We got to build a culture of fundraising on our board. That's the second pillar. The third pillar is us, the staff. Okay, and this is where I bite my lip a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you all. One of the reasons why I started my organization and some other business interests that I have is because I was kind of sick of boards, right? My experience with boards is, they helped. When I was at Williams Creek Youth Foundation, I had I had a staff team, I had a development team on my staff. I had 2 or 3 staff people that just focused on our fundraising efforts. I had maybe 3 or 4 board members that help with face-to-face ask and make big gifts, major gifts. And I had a crew of, if I had 4 fundraising events, then I had a committee just for those different people that ran 4 or 5 different fundraising events for me. But when I left there, I was sick of I was sick of boards doing things for the wrong reason. I mean, board members doing things for the wrong reasons. Yeah, I was just glad to focus on me personally, on my nonprofit and other business interests that I had, right? And so I guess kind of what I'm saying in a nutshell is, I was like, I can do this and I can do it on my own. And it looked really, really good for like the first like year and a half, 2 years. But there's 7 days in a week and God rested on the 7th day. I wasn't resting. I mean, I was working every day, but remember, we're doing what we love doing, right? We enjoy the work that we do, but you will get burnt out. You know, and when you get, the best thing that could have happened to me is when I hired a staff person and like sat down. And when I sat down, my body and my mind were like, stay there. Because I didn't want to get back up, you know, because I had been, you know, just ripping and running for about 2.5 years, no family vacation, and just going to work on Sunday after church. And I was fine with it. I'm like, hey, this is what life being a social entrepreneur is all about, right? So when I look at my leadership style at that time, and as far as my relationship, and I had to have a board, you legally have to have a board, okay, on paper. But my relationship with my board is this: either it's my way or the highway. You either get online or get off the bus. And I ask people to get off the bus. It's like, hey, in a diplomatic way, we're moving in a different direction. Maybe you're not a good fit for our board. And I'll say this, I think in a startup, I think to a certain extent that might be okay, because I was moving at a pace to where only a few of my board members could keep up with me, right? I didn't have a whole lot of time to waste, okay? And so, long story short, my leadership style was more authoritative, right? It was the one on there on the bottom. High degree of control, you know, I did all the planning, okay? But I'm gonna tell you guys something. I have something written down, I can't find it now. Your organization will not grow that way. You will never move in a growth stage if you have that authoritative style of leadership. You just won't, okay? You have to move more into participation and empowering. It has to be a shared responsibility. And now I'm at that point now to where I see that, you know, I'm getting older, right? I had a birthday last week. I'm on the other side of 40, right? Which, you know, I don't want to offend anybody, but I've always thought, you know, I was young all the way to 45, but once I hit 46, I'm like, dang. Everybody calls me sir now. The guys don't want to come hang out at my house, you know? And so I guess what I'm saying is that last foundation in your fundraising is you. You have to, it's us, it's the staff. We got to change our leadership style. We have to make an adjustment. We have to be more participatory. We have to have a more shared approach. We have to have a more team approach. Okay. So I came to that point not that long ago. You know, I went to my board and said, hey, board, I can't do this on my own, because at the end of the day, your vision, your organization is bigger than you. And there's a such thing called founder syndrome. And a lot of organizations have fallen prey to founder syndrome, where they cannot grow because the founder won't let it. That could be a chair, that could be an executive director, that could be whom. You may be standing in your own way of growth, okay? Which, you know, funders can see that. Good, smart funders, they can see through that. All right, is this good? Am I all right now, guys? Okay. All right. Anybody know the world record of the mile?
I don't hold it.
It's that 34313. I guess that's the last time I Googled it. I'm not even gonna try to say that Moroccan's name, but Hakeem El Hurra. I don't know. Anybody can say it. That's pretty good. But funny thing is this: there are 100 boys in the state of Tennessee that could beat that dude. 100 boys that could beat him. You know how? Anybody know how? My relay, right? Team. You know, I wanted to put a picture of one of my favorite movies, but then this presentation would have lost all professionalism. But I will say his quote, okay? The only thing better than one crawfish dinner is 5 crawfish dinners, okay? And so you need a team of people to raise money, right? Because when you have a team of people and you're fishing, okay, well, you got 5, 10, you got 15 people fishing in your local pond. And maybe one of those fishermen that are fishing on your behalf, right, can take you to that side of the pond where you've never been before, where the big fish are, right? Maybe that one of your team members has a boat. I'm a lifetime bank fisherman, right? I've owned a boat, but my wife sold my little piece of a boat in the yard sale one time. She got rid of my boat. She didn't like it in front of the house, right? So anyway, that's why we got to develop a team of people. All right. And at the end of the day, it's for our own mental health too. To help carry the load, right? Share the burden of fundraising, because legally it falls on your board. Legally it does. Okay. So do we want to take like a little break or anything, Elle, or we
I
good?
can keep going,
Okay.
but I'm just one vote. So if anyone feels differently.
Does anybody need a 2-minute? All right, I'm gonna keep going. All right. So Americans gave $47 and almost $500 billion in 2020 to nonprofit organizations. It was an increase of 5% from